Most people believe talking more means good communication, which is wrong. You can speak less and have more impact if you use these techniques. So in today's video, I will show you the various techniques and skills implemented today. You will see the results instantly. There are teachings of which have keys that requires a progressional application in order to see results. However, it takes another level of skill, another level of topic to distill keys of which applied now can deliver results. So listen very carefully. And I've said it countless times. Lack of communication has a lot of limitations upon your life. The ability to not be able to concisely explain your point such that the audience grasp or take action based on what you just said is invaluable. Lack of communication or lack of effective communication steps into all areas of your life, down to your relationship, your business life, your networking life. One of the secrets behind my success is effective communication that has led to business deals, relationship life, interviews. In fact, there are things that I do unconsciously. I have no idea. It's a struggle to the average individual. Communication breeds confidence, for instance. So confidence and communication. Whenever I see a lady I like, very rarely do I second guess myself. Very rarely do I believe once I walk up to her, I would say something stupid, or I would stutter. No, it's impossible. Being effective as communication improves all aspects of your life. One small thing can cause a ripple effect across your destiny. Being effective in communication, does that mean you are confident enough to ask for that raise, to speak to your partner, improve the quality of your life, leading to better environment, leading to better people, leading to the augmentation of the quality of life of every single person within your radius? One of the first things you need to understand in order to become an effective communicator is listen more, speak less. I know this is counterintuitive because everybody wants to be seen in this day and age of insanity. Every single person wants to dominate the dinner table. They want to be heard. They want to be perceived as this ridiculous alpha. Conversely, say in a dinner table where everybody is trying to insert that next sentence, there's a guy, you're sitting, poised, calm. You say a few things, you listen more, you nod your head. That would make you more attractive than the 90% of people trying to end the opposite direction. Someone speaks over you, you let him finish, you cease to speak. That action alone just advertise his ignorance, trying to speak over you. Unfortunately, when you try and dominate the conversation, it betrays insecurity, it reveals a lack you're trying to practice. In fact, for you, this is a platform to practice. So you're trying as much as possible to breed your confidence by speaking more in an attempt to reinforce yourself psychologically you're a good communicator, you're an alpha male, you totally dominated the dinner table. The attention is going to go to the guy who's calm, poised, collected, thinks before he speaks, asks intelligent questions. So listen more, speak less. Listen more, speak less. The second technique you should imbue in your communication today is to master tone and pauses. What's the difference between my communication and that of a professor? A professor is monotone. A professor or a lecturer maintains one tone of communication. Ladies and gentlemen, have you seen something like this? If you do it this way, it will give you, it doesn't make sense. You don't want to hear that shit. As interesting as the subject is meant to be, it becomes boring because of its monotone style of delivery. Now, monotone doesn't necessarily have to be low pitch or high pitch. What monotone means is a steady tone of communication. If you review my previous videos, this is something I struggled with. I would go extreme on various tones. It's either I'm shouting at the top of my voice in an attempt to get a point across. Throughout the video, I'm shouting, or I'm calm, speaking quietly, or I'm in the middle. It's not the composite of the aforementioned. Observe speakers you admire. One consistent trait is the ability to command tone as the situation presents itself. So there are times I will deliberately increase the pitch of my voice. Say I'm trying to motivate or to communicate passion. There are times where I'm calm. You see what I did there? Pause, strategic pause in an attempt to draw the viewers. Why most people don't utilize the pause is they fear the conversation will be guided from them. Unfortunately, if you speak at such a high pitch, leaving no room for the conversation to be guided, which you believe is the perceived solution to that problem, you only come across as silly, shy, insecure, which is the opposite of the desired outcome. If that's how you solve problem, it means you've not been listening, you've not been taking correction. If that's how you solved problem previously, you should go down to the comment section and apologize to I, the sun god Ra, for going against my principles, for going against my teachings, because you just solve problem by solving the problem. You solve problem by identifying the cause of the problem and providing solution. Ultimately, the problem melts like wax before sun. I'll state that again for those of you who are slow. You solve problem not by contending with the problem, but by identifying the cause of the problem and providing solution. The solution to that problem is to speak from your heart. There are two ways to speak: consciously, being conscious to speak from your mind. You notice when you speak from your mind, it's most likely you are trying to impress someone. You're conscious of the environment. If you've ever asked yourself how speakers are able to maintain communication even where there are external distraction. Someone walks into the office or someone stands up, someone leaves, there is a piece of paper being passed about. It's because they speak from the heart. If you speak from the heart, you're only conscious of that which you portray. Nothing else matters. Speaking from the heart is not limited to passion. It's a metaphor, a device of which you block out all external distractions. Because when you speak from the heart, you're not consciously doing the pause. It comes naturally. These are things that cannot be explained in its magnitude. These are things that cannot be holistically explained. The only thing we can share is how to do it. The experience is totally up to you. Learn how to pause. It gives you time to recollect your thoughts as well as draw audience. Again, it sounds counterintuitive because you somehow believe when you pause, the conversation will be guided from you, which is not the case. It's the opposite. It draws the audience. Remember what I taught you in the first part of this video, which is to master your tone. First part of this point, rather, to master your tone. There are times, like in a fierce debates, especially online. Unfortunately, debates has now devolved into trying to humiliate your opponent as opposed to two or three conflicting sides trying to see each other point of view. So in a debate, very rarely would you have time to pause. It's most likely the tone. You are in fight mode. You should come there with a combative mindset. And once you're in a combative mindset, the difference in your style of communication changes. Let's not go there. That is advanced concepts. Even the Bible recommends to children you give milk, while adults you give strong meat. So let's leave strong meat for another day. Still on superficial terms, the first one is listen more than you speak. The second, master your tone and pause. Bonus, I'll give you a bonus point. Learn how to tell stories. Learn how to tell stories. If you look at the most charismatic speakers, they know how to use stories to portray a point. They know how to use stories to draw the audience, to lead them to a conclusion that has already been premeditated. Communication is very important as touching your life and destiny. The reason Steve Jobs was the face of Apple as opposed to the co-founder, Steve Wozniak, is because of his persona, his ability to communicate, his charisma, his personality in and of itself. Although Steve Jobs never knew how to code, never wrote one line of code in his entire life, yet he was able to build a software company and be the face of that company. Obviously, Steve Wozniak, who did all the work, did all the hardware, wrote all the codes, and Steve just promoted. Steve was in the advertising sector. But why do we know Steve associated with Apple, not Woz? Because Woz lacked the ability to communicate. Woz was more reserved. In fact, his name would have been lost in history if not for the biography of Steve. Again, his fame and his identity is still tied to Steve. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to discredit the effort and every single thing Steve has done for Apple. In fact, the iPhone, which revolutionized the phone industry, which changed the horizon of how we interacted with the internet. He had the idea of the iPhone. He was able to articulately communicate his vision to the subordinates, to the individuals who had the real skill to make it possible. You now see, my friends, sometimes the ability to make things happen is only quarter of the actualization for results. The desire, the hunger, the ability to stir people, communicate, band a group of people who would not work together or otherwise, aim them at a shared vision is what matters the most. Let me know in the comment section how this video helped you, how you implement the various techniques today in your life. Let me also know if there's something you found difficult or contradiction you would want me to shed light on, or if there's something, some contribution, I'll be most happy to respond. And as always, my friends, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.